representing Team Alliance with my all team members. Sir, in this situation, we all know that getting knowledge became very much difficult. So, sir, but our Society for Universal Knowledge Park is a dynamic platform which offers versatile programs such as debates, quiz, seminar, and many more, which enriches students' personality, ability, and many more.
Sir, today we are here to take a small interview of yours for Kids Reporting, which is an element for our competition. So we request you to answer some of our queries. So my first question is, why a student should be proactive rather than reactive?
A student should be proactive so that he acquaints himself with the environment, with the situation, with the circumstances. He learns how to adapt himself to all types of situations. If he is reactive, he may simply give an answer that no, I cannot do it. Okay, I will do it. But he may not be able to prove himself. But if he is proactive, means he will get completely involved with the situation. He will get a chance to prove himself, and at the same time he can gather a lot of information and knowledge and wisdom. So in that way, a proactive child has a multidimensional growth. There is a versatile development in his personality altogether. Simply just giving a reaction, okay, I can do it. You ask me to do this, I say okay, I can do it. You do it on your own and you submit it, or whatever the situation is, whatever the problem is. Or no, I can't, sorry. So that will give him only a one-dimensional path. But when he is proactive, he gets the chance to learn. If he commits a mistake, also people around him will encourage him. He will learn how to adapt to the situation, and that makes him a versatile person. He develops a good personality on the whole.
That's what you mean to say, that he will be having much passions.
Of course, I don't mean only passions. He will have the keen desire to learn many things from different aspects of life, from different situations. Because unless we put ourselves in a situation and adapt and try to cope up with the situation, we don't learn adaptability. We don't learn adaptability. Like supposing now there is a scorching sun in the sky. Your mommy tells you, okay, take your bag and go for your class. You say, no mommy, it's very hot. How can I go? I cannot walk. I'm very tired. But when your mommy says, okay, come on, I'll accompany you. Let's go for a walk. She goes half the way and she says, okay, bye. Your teacher's house is nearby. You get encouraged, you get adapted to the situation, and you reach your teacher's house also. And मम्मी का भी थोड़ा एक्सरसाइजेस हो गया, चलना फिरना, बच्चा का भी एडजस्टमेंट हो गया, उसका ग्रोथ एंड डेवलपमेंट भी हो गया. So next day when you tell him to go out in the scorching sun, he will not say a big no. He say, no, I know, come on, he'll ask somebody to accompany him to overcome the situation. Yes.
What are the merits and demerits of it, according to you?
E-learning is basically a virtual mode of study. Basically a virtual mode of study. So first let me tell out the merits. Like nowadays you are using your electronic gadgets. You are having some formal classes. Subject by subject, the teachers are sending your video lectures or Zoom classes or web classes, whatsoever, whatever you say, in whatever way you define it. So that way you are using your electronic gadget in the right dimension. You are not wasting your time at home sitting idle, because idle mind is devil's workshop. So you are bound to do something in a formal way. So one way you are using your electronic gadget in the right dimension. Number two, you are gaining knowledge. Instead of seeing all other unnecessary things on your mobiles, you are seeing your virtual classes, what your teacher is saying, what the materials are being delivered. That you get a scope to learn. Okay? And number three, with that scope of learning, you are pressurized to give some outcome of your knowledge. Because you are feeling that no, if I would have got the teacher in front of me, it would have been better. no, now she is or he or she, my teacher is not in front of me. Okay, let me try it out myself. Let me write this question, let me write this answer, let me solve this sum. So in that way you are having your outcome based learning is more even. You are under some pressure always. And if you talk about the demerits is that, you know, there is a saying, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So whole day you are sitting with the mobile, you are not doing any exercise, your body becomes lazy, you become bulky, because you need some exercise also. If you are in the school, definitely you will run about here and there, you will talk with your friends, you will shout, you will laugh. Somehow, some way or the other, your energy is channelized. But in e-learning at home, you are sitting all alone, you have no friends around you. You are completely isolated. So to say, you are in a quarantine situation. So that way, you see, the social behavior of a child may change. He tends to develop the nature of being aloof from the society, aloof from the friends. He doesn't get a chance to play, he doesn't get a chance to shout, laughter. So that way his body growth may be hampered. So these are the demerits. I hope I could satisfy your question.
Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum. May the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon you. Sir, I just wanted to know that what is the importance of reading the newspaper for the youth of this generation?
Okay, very good question. Please have a seat. You see, when it comes to reading newspapers or books or any articles, which I am very fond of, because I don't use these electronic Android sets at all. Even today I don't have an Android set. But then you would ask me then, sir, how are you taking your virtual classes? I borrow it from my friends and colleagues. But I don't use it because I don't want to depend on these gadgets. Whenever you read a book or a newspaper or any article somewhere found, even from a street vendor, when you buy some samosa or something, they will give you in a paper. They will wrap it in a paper and they give you the tear it from a book that we see most of the time. When you read that, you develop your vocabulary power. You develop creativity. You develop the sense of understanding. So this cognitive domain of a child develops a lot. You can learn how to use words in a better way when you read the sentences of a newspaper or any article or any book. You learn how to use them when you speak in English or Bengali or any other language, whatever be the language. If you read an English newspaper, definitely you will develop the word vocabulary power in English. You can use the right words at the right time. You can develop the creativity, the art of writing develops. Because if you just know how to write, and if you don't know what to write, then you will be at a blank point. So when you want to write something, you should know how to put in the right words in the right place. So in that way your creativity of writing develops a lot. And this will help you in your competitive exams also. Because you know, in every competitive exams, English occupies a major share. So in that way it will help you a lot. In any competitive exam you need to write. The optional papers you need to write a lot. Subjective papers are also the objective papers. So subjective papers, when you have to write, you have to make up your own answers. You have to create your own answers. So if you know the words which you have gathered by reading the newspapers and articles and books during your entire school and college days, that will help you a lot. So creativity develops a lot. Well,
Sir, my question to you is that how should we overcome laziness and sleepiness?
okay. Thank you. Very good question. A very practical, pragmatic question, which is a burning problem in every household: laziness and sleep. The first thing is you should control your food habits. Our parents love us very much. So if you today you forgo your dinner, you see your mother is worried, she doesn't sleep for the whole night. Next morning, the whole day she will repeat that history. You did not eat, you did not eat, you did not eat. Of course, you should not do that. You should not forbid. You should not forego. You should not bypass. You should eat your food in the right time and the right amount. Because when you eat more, when you sit on the dining table and your belly bulges out, you don't know whether your neck, it has filled up to your neck or not. You go on eating and stuffing. So that you should have a control. The amount of food that you take on your plate, you should have a control. This is how much I should eat. The right diet. You should follow a right diet chart from a dietitian, or even if you browse the net or any diet books, you can get that. This is number one. Number two, physical exercise is a must. If your body, because there is a saying, sound health lies in a sound mind. Sound health will come through proper physical exercise. I am not saying you have to go to a gym and do some instrumentations there. When you wake up early in the morning, do skipping 50 times. Do some physical exercise, do some push-ups and pull-ups, do some jogging, spend 20 minutes every day. Of course, if you sleep 4 hours at night and if you do the skipping and control it, then you will feel sleeping the day. At least 8 hours of sleep must be there at night. You should sleep by 10 and wake up by 6. Don't go beyond that. Try not to go beyond that. And after your 8 hours of full sleep, when you wake up in the morning, go for some physical exercise, drink a glass of water, and then begin your day. You will feel fresh. Take a bath, begin your day, you will feel fresh. Your laziness and sleepiness will go. Now one more thing is there. We, in every household, we try to eat good food. Our parents try to give us very good quality food, up to the best of their ability. But always remember, we cannot take a balanced diet, because every time our parents cannot measure the amount of protein, fat, vitamins given to us. There is always a deficiency of vitamins in our diet. So at least once a year, we must take care of this vitamin part of our body. We should try to take vitamin supplements by consulting the physician, because that will increase the metabolic activities of our body. Otherwise, every time you will be full of lethargy. You feel like sleeping, you don't feel like studying, you don't feel like doing. And another thing is that some people, they make it a habit of their choice to avoid the work. I'm feeling sleepy, okay, I'm going to sleep. Don't do that. You must be focused on what you have to do during the day, keeping your diet in the right time, in the right amount, taking care of your vitamins part of your body, because vitamins cannot be synthesized by the body. We always rely on external intake of vitamins, that is through our food. And when we take vitamins through our food, there is always a deficiency, because every time we cannot afford to have balanced diet. So at least we must consult a physician and take care of our vitamin needs of our body. That will also enhance your ability to work more. It will remove your lethargy, sleepiness, drowsiness, laziness. I hope I could fulfill your...
Yes.
Very good question. Sit down. Backbenchers. You see, when I take a class, I don't treat anybody as a first bencher or a second bencher or a backbencher. Rehana has a good experience. I know she has cursed me a lot, maybe behind me, I'm not sure. Because I walk around the class. And that is exactly what a pedagogue should do. A pedagogue should walk around the class. For a teacher or a pedagogue, there should be no backbencher. This should not be there in his mind. The word backbencher should not be in his mind. The word bad student, dull student should not be in his mind. The word a very intelligent student should not be in his mind. All should be equal in the eyes of the teacher or a pedagogue. The teacher should walk around the class. When the teacher delivers a lecture or says something, from front to back, he or she should walk. After doing the board work, she should go and see what the people are doing at the back. Are they sleeping? Are they talking? Are they writing the due work that has been given to them? The teacher should be very vigilant. This is 100% responsibility of the teacher. Sitting at the back doesn't mean that he is out of the track. For some rhyme or reason, today if we sit it in a circular way, today if they change every week the front and back, if they go in a circular way, the front one may go at the back one may come to the front. But it is the duty of the teacher, fundamental and foremost duty of the teacher to walk about the class and take care of this. Because the last person sitting on the corner, she should take his copy and have a glance and encourage him. Fine, you have written a lot, very good, keep it up, go ahead. Or even if he has written only 2 lines, okay, you have written only 2 lines, come on. Your friends have written 10 lines. Should you come in front? Don't ask him the question. You should not ask him the question, hey, why are you not writing? He will get scared. He will get discouraged. He will feel low. You should tell him in a positive way. Fine, you have written 2 lines. Okay, 8 more lines to go. Should you come in front? Would you like to come in front? So that I think you can write a little faster. Or you are having a problem with your pen. Or you are not audible to you. So that way the child feels encouraged. You don't tell him in a negative way, hey, why are you not writing? Why are you sitting at the back and only talking? No. Reactivity should not be there. Proactivity should be there. The teacher should cope up with the situation of the child, psychology of the child, habit of the child, and lift him from his situation and try to make him a good and cultured human being by virtue of education. I hope I could answer your question.
सर, आप एक PhD होल्डर हैं।
Okay.
आपने भी अपने लाइफ में बहुत कुछ सफर किए हैं। आपने भी अपने लाइफ में डिप्रेशन सफर किए हैं। तो उससे बाहर आने के लिए आपसे क्या क्या?
Okay. Very good question. Very good question. Thank you. Sit down. Please sit down. You see, doing a PhD, of course, I've worked tremendously hard for that. Right from my MSc or the higher studies, when you go, you see, you have to do everything yourself. Your guide and they never help you in any way. Of course, that is a part of the training, not a negativity. They put you in such a situation where you have to come out all alone. Nobody will be there to help you. You will find complete depression all around you. So we must be positive in our thoughts. That wherever I am put, in whatever situation I am put, I should try it out to the best of my ability, without regarding whether I am right or wrong. That's what I tell my students. I ask them, do the numerical. You are not bothered to be right or wrong. You are only bothered to do your work in time. So with that spirit, I used to work ahead always. That I should do my work in due time. And what I will get after that, my fate and my destiny, I don't bother about that. Whatever is your destiny, that you will always be there. So that will not lead you towards the path of depression. That will always give you a ray of hope in life. So whatever you do, you ought to do it to the best of your ability. And with full concentration. And concentration comes through namaz. Without namaz, without ikhlas, ikhlas is sincerity. Ikhlas means sincerity. Without ikhlas, you cannot have concentration, and without concentration you cannot do any work. Even if you ride a bicycle, you need concentration. Otherwise you will make it an accident. And you will blame the other fellow. So, do your work with the right attitude, with a positive ray of hope. Okay? With full concentration, without bothering what people say around you. And inshallah you will come out of every situation, and definitely life will give you a good platform to stand upon. That is what I have come across, and I have seen what so far my experience goes, what I have seen so far I am sharing with you. So I think if one moves with the right attitude, with a positive ray of hope, does his work in time with full concentration, well, irrespective of whether he is right or wrong, one day or the other, he will go to that position. Today you have the DRDO, the chief of DRDO was Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. After Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the first Muslim woman scientist, Khushbu Mirza, to Andhra Pradesh. So you see, just at a tender age, she has gone to such a big position. It's because of her hard work, perseverance, because when you do research, your answer may be completely wrong. Chandrayaan, 400 crore project. You see, it was a complete blunder. It was a complete failure. But with the ray of hope, it's not a failure, it's an achievement. I've learnt a lot from that. So it's just the way you think. You have to think of your perspective. Because winners don't do different things. They do the things differently. So when you do your things differently, definitely you will come out with flying colors. You will be compassionate. You will be competent. You will feel satisfied with what you have done in life. I hope I could
Yes, sir.
answer
Thank you,
your
sir.
query.
The timing of both the board exam and Juma collage, what a person do at that particular time, exam or Juma? I mean to say that where do you believe, in dua or in medicine, sir?
Very good. Let me tell you. You have two questions, Juma or your board exam. Board exam is as per the law of the land, and Juma is per the law of Sharia. So, your board exams will start either at 9 and end by 12, first shift. Board exams never start, so far my knowledge goes, what I have seen, never starts at 11 and ends at 2 after Juma. So, if it's in the first half, 9 to 12, after 12 you can attend the Juma. If it's in the second half starts from 1 o'clock or 1:30. So you have 12 to 1 for your Juma. So where there is a will, there is a way. After, even last year, we took our students to Haila Gandhi, your batch.
No, sir.
Not your batch, the first batch. We took them to Haila Gandhi. That was, the first exam was on Friday. The exam was on 1:30. We all attended the Juma first at 1 o'clock. We came out at 1:15 from the Juma. I took the student to the classroom at 1:25. So they attended the Juma also, they attended the board exam also. And that was a very crucial exam of their life, HS, final exam. Next is dua or medicine. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that to believe in medicine is shirk. To believe in medicine is shirk. To avoid medicine is kufr. And to consume medicine is sunnah. Could you get my point? To believe, यकीन करना दवा के ऊपर शिर्क, यकीन आपको सिर्फ अल्लाह के ऊपर रखना है, दवा नहीं करना कुफ्र और दवा करना सुन्नत. That is about medicine. And dua, always, everywhere, every moment you sit here also by your heart, you don't need to always put your hands like this for dua. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala every moment for forgiveness. You seek His mercy and refuge every moment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely grant us. I hope I could clarify your two concepts of dua and dawa, medicine.
So, another question is that what's your point of view that what changes about the new education policy?
Okay, thank you. Good question. The new education policy, you see, the policies evolve every when the new government comes or as the days pass by after 5 years, 10 years, new policies evolve. So this policy has evolved. What will be the outcome, we cannot tell you at the moment. After some years pass by, then we can find some effect of this new policy. Now, as an intellectual, by looking at the policy, what we feel, that I can share with you. What we feel, what we perceive, that I can share with you. As of now, what we are seeing is that, okay, up to 5 it's the pre-primary school, then 6 to 8 middle school, then 9 to 11 high school, and 12 onwards graduation. In the graduation part, one thing they have done that is very appreciable is that if a person does the graduation, admits himself in the graduation course, continues for 1 year, and then he quits, maybe due to some family problems, financial problems, he will get a certificate course that is beneficial for him. Something he has in hand. Whereas in the present system, if you take admission into graduation course and after 1 year you quit, you get nothing. You are a big zero. But now you get something. After 2 years, if you quit, you get a diploma. After 3 years you quit, you get a graduation course. And if you continue for 4 years, you get an honors graduate. So in that perspective, yes, it is very, very much helpful. And regarding the schooling part up to 10th or 11th, I don't find that it will be of much significance or importance to what is being done in the present and in the previous, as we have done in the previous policy. This present policy, I don't think it will have much effect. They said that vocational courses or subject choosing are all these things, but unless you have the basic knowledge of history, sociology, geography, all these are very important. What we learnt in our school days in geography are helping us even today. Today, when we talk about America, I can envisage the map in my mind. When you talk of Europe, I can envisage the map in my mind. When you talk of the Pacific Ocean, I can envisage in my mind. It's because we have gathered the knowledge. And if you deprive a student of this knowledge, tomorrow if you tell him, I went to the Pacific Ocean, he said, where is Pacific Ocean? Kahan? Swarg mein ya narg mein? So, a child, he should be given various dimensions of knowledge. It should not be curtailed. I am not of the favor of curtailment. In our days, we appeared the HSLC exam 900 marks, 1000 marks. 1000 marks we appeared. Out of 1000 marks, 900 was compulsory. And the remaining, from the remaining 100 marks, that was an additional subject. Above 30 what we got, that was added to our total marks. Now you are appearing for 600 marks. You are appearing for how many marks? HSLC? 500 marks. 600 marks. HS 500 marks. HS even we appeared 500 marks. But HSLC you appeared 600, we have appeared 900. So what knowledge I have gathered, you will never get that knowledge. There lies the difference. Because you read a book, you read a storybook also, you get something out of it. Provided you have the motive of getting something out of it. Not just sitting with the book and looking at the watch after 2 hours, getting up and telling Mummy, I have studied a lot. I hope I could clarify your question.
Thank you for giving us your precious time, and the answers were very much helpful to us.
You are most welcome. It's my great pleasure to have you all with me here in this very cozy and wonderful afternoon. Really a wonderful experience to be with you this afternoon. Thank you, and welcome once again to President. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.